What's up? The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown. I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. It's a Monday, the 9th of April. Sorry, April. The 9th of March, 2026. This is an NBA productive conversation, our first in a few months. And as we head into the final stretch of the regular season, we're about three-fourths of the way in it and we head to our way to the postseason. Let's check in with our good friend Fresh Faces and talk about what's going on in this league that I think for now is a little more wide open than when we started. What's up, Faces?
Well, I certainly think the East got a little more wide open. I think we'll talk about specifically. I think the West is less wide open, but the East is certainly more entertaining than we thought it would be.
Yeah, so definitely more in your favor for that Western Conference, but we'll get into that as the show progresses. But before we begin our conversation, just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding the show across all social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X at ProcCobblePod, TikTok at ProcCobblePod, and Facebook at Productive Conversations. And also check out our other sports productive conversation that's available. That's me talking about the World Baseball Classic, NBA off-season moves, UFC, and March Madness college basketball as we are a week away from Selection Sunday. And that's available on our podcast platforms and YouTube. But Faces, as we hit the final stretch, everything good with you? As you mentioned, East is a little more wide open. The West, we have a better idea of where this is going, but I know you're excited because your Spurs have really turned into a powerhouse team. Do you even want to say a little ahead of schedule to kick it off?
I don't know if it's ahead of schedule. I'm pretty sure when we did like our preseason, early season show, I said this team could win 50 games. Um, I
Mhm.
think people were conflating a couple things in Wemby's first two seasons in the fact that he's like injury prone, even though he missed the second half of last season with like a freak thing. He had a blood clot. He had a DVT that knocked him out for half the season. So like they would have been a play-in team had he been healthy. Um, and then they've just leveled up. Like I'll get to it. When we get to the Western Conference, I I got so much to say about this team. But yeah, let's start in the East. So the East, I think prior to 3 weeks ago, whenever the Spurs played um, the Pistons the first time, I think it was pretty safe to say the Pistons were probably the team that was going to come out of the East. Um,
Yes.
they played the Knicks really well. You didn't really know if Boston had enough to beat them with the Tatum thing. People are still like people are like, oh yeah, Cleveland's somebody to watch out for, even though they put the most meltdown player in the playoff history on the team that meltdown the most, and we're like, yeah,
James Harden.
we're just gonna ignore that. Philly has a Joel Embiid and now a Jared McCain sized hole in their roster, and then like who's left? Toronto's not making it out. The Hornets, if are like exciting, but they're not good enough to win.
They've been very interesting these last two
Yeah, we'll
couple
we'll
weeks
talk
though.
about them, but I want to say this. I think the most likely teams at this point are either the Knicks or Boston. Um, I think I think the Pistons fucked up. I think they fucked up this season.
Ooh,
They
tell us
were
why.
they're
What's the
clearly
issues with Detroit right now?
so Detroit has a similar issue to the Knicks in that most of what they do revolves around their point guard. They have less of an issue in the fact that Cade is enormous and he's a much better defender than Jalen Brunson, so he's not going to be picked on in the same way. The problem is they don't have anybody else who's really going to create a shot for them. And with where their defense was, they really only had to go find another shot creator. It didn't have to be like the pie in the sky was like everyone's like, oh, they're going to get marketed. They weren't going to get marketed. I said they should have traded for Giannis last offseason. I still stand by that. That would have been a good team for him to go to. I don't think that's
And
going
our
to happen.
Giannis sweepstakes will take us into the summer, so we'll look what happens there.
Um, but like they needed to get a guy. I don't know if it was Trey Murphy. I don't know if it was they could have gotten literally any of the Chicago guards, Kobe White, Ayo DeSumo. They just needed somebody. And their only real trade chip was Jaden Ivey. And essentially all they did was turn Jaden Ivey into Kevin Herter, who I don't even know if he's playing at all. Like I don't know what Jaden Ivey's like perceived um trade value was. Apparently it wasn't very high. But like, I don't know. I still would have taken like Zach LaVine. I don't remember if he was injured, like considered injured out before the like they needed another guy. And I think the Spurs exposed it in the first game, and they certainly blew the doors off of them. And then they just lost today. I think they're just a guy short. They need a valve for Cade. Um, to help them. Like their defense is insane. The problem is they're all their wing guys. Like Asar can't shoot. Jalen Duren can't shoot. Ron Holland can't shoot. Like you can't play all three of those guys together. There's no spacing. Um, and I don't know. Like there's no way they couldn't have gotten. Like they had to have kicked the tires on like a Colin Sexton or like a Kobe White. Like one of those guys who your defense is solid enough that you can survive having like you need that secondary guy.
Detroit's also have had their injury woes themselves as a whole. The team. Do you think if they get back to full strength, even especially with Isaiah Stewart, who's been up and down, he's not trying to hurt people. Do you think that they are sustainable if they're fully healthy, or you just feel like they still have a ways to go to figure it out? Because it still is impressive them the amount of wins they've been getting. They're 42 wins already. They might win 50 games with what's left, maybe just short, but they've been competitive. JB Bickerstaff, whatever he's been dealt with, he has been making them competent. You just feel that it's more of they're still missing stuff, especially off the bench.
The so they have a thing that a lot of teams like their defense is going to travel. Like it's going to keep them in games. The problem is they don't have a plan B for like what happens when like the game slows down and everyone throws everything at Cade. Like everyone's just going to pack the paint against them because they and look, it's not like they haven't seen this a million times. They don't know how to do it, but it's just the margins are slimmer in the playoffs, and in the playoffs you need another guy or somebody else to step up. And maybe like look, there's not saying that there's not going to be a Ron Holland game where he hits like 4 or 5 threes. Like he played well when they played the Spurs for that first half. Like there's probably going to be a Dennis Jenkins game. Like there's going to be things, but they don't have like you need a secondary creator, and they just don't have that. So I don't
Mm.
think they have like really the firepower to keep up with like a Boston or like even the Knicks. Like the Knicks, let's be clear about this. Them playing the Knicks would be a very fascinating series because had Detroit been healthy, Detroit would have beat them last year. I think everyone
I don't
is
disagree with that.
it can pretty much like agree to
And
that.
it
And I
helped with the
think
refs loving the Knicks too.
yeah,
Back then.
I think the thing with Detroit is the Eastern Conference is more open than it's been in a while. And I think this would have been a year because they're not going to beat Oklahoma City. Like there was no chance of them beating Oklahoma City in the same way the Knicks aren't going to beat Oklahoma City in the playoffs. Like they have the same problem. It's you need to have more than one ball handler. That's why the Spurs are so good against the Thunder because they have the multiple ball handlers. Um, the they should have been more aggressive. This isn't a like a fun like the Thunder 2 years ago when they were like, let's see what we got, but we have ammo. Like they don't really have ammo now to go get somebody else. Like maybe somebody pops off or somebody like randomly decides to do this, but they don't really have the same like level of assets that like somebody else does. Like they're not really like blue chip guys.
Mhm.
Like Jaden Ivey was kind of it. And he just didn't really fit their timeline. Not to any fault of Jaden Ivey's, but like it just didn't work. Um, so and like next year, it's gonna be different. Like Tyrese Halliburton's coming back. They may have him and Zoo and like AJ Dibanza or some like crazy thing like that. They could have another one. The Wizards are going to be at least competent next year to some degree with AD and Trey.
Yeah.
Even though Trey's playing, I don't know if AD's going to be playing. The Hornets are certainly going to be more dangerous next year than they are this year. Boston's going to be more dangerous because they're going to have a fully healthy Tatum for the whole year. The Knicks may have Giannis. Like,
Yeah, that window's just closing, so they have to do something now.
right. I think that's why I think they made the mistake. I think if the Knicks can avoid the Pistons, they could probably win the East. Um,
Yes, that's something that's also a personal series. Between
and
those
they
two don't like each other, and it's just really good theater basketball.
and the Pistons have kind of beat the shit out of them like every
Yep,
game. They
all
won by like
four, the 4-0, and all by at least 10 points or more.
right. So it is, but like other than that, I think the Knicks should feel, and then probably I don't think they would lose to the Hornets, but I'd be worried about playing the Hornets.
Yeah, why don't we just hit on the? I just want to hit on the Hornets and then Tatum's return with the Celtics. We've seen this Hornets team come out of nowhere lately. Concanoople has turned into this 3-point machine. Obviously, LaMelo Ball's been doing his thing, with the exception of getting in car accidents. This team's looking really, really good, and definitely no, I didn't see it coming. But do you have any hesitation? Do you think that they can make a run if they could get into the play-in? It looks like, because at this moment they are a play-in team, but do you feel like maybe they could be taken a little more seriously, or it's just finally the Charlotte Hornets of any franchise might finally be holding its own?
Well, I think they have a good coach, and I think they're heading in the right direction. They absolutely fucked up the Tijan Salon pick 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Like like that's so clear. I mean, he's like not a massive bust, but that was not the right pick.
Yes, and
I
Charles Lee
do
is the
have to
coach for those
caveat
who don't
this
know.
because I caveat this with every time I talk about the Hornets. Miles Bridges should not be in the league. Like this is part of the league's issue. Um, like one of their like many issues. It's like a minor one because Charlotte's kind of sucked, so he's been able to hang out under the radar, but he should not be in the league. So like as a decent person, Charlotte doesn't deserve to win for employing him. Um, the this coincides with a couple things. LaMelo's healthy, and Brandon Miller's healthy.
Yep.
Like these guys are healthy. That certainly makes a huge difference because they are playing well. Khan is playing well. They have a good coach. They've just been aggressive and they're moving fast and they do a lot of fun stuff. Um, I don't know. I think they'll probably get into that 7-8 seed. I think they're better than like the Magic and the Hawks, who I hope just bottom out for the rest of the season, and the Heat. Like but we also don't know. Like Lamelo's been in the play-in twice, and they've gotten the doors blown off of them. So we'll see, but they look exciting. And if you're a young team, especially like you go into this and like we need a big guy. Um, I like Kalkbrenner, but he's not like a starting caliber center. You don't need like a DeAndre Jordan, DeAndre Ayton. You need you know, uh, like a solid big, like a Miles Turner type would have been fine, for this team. But we'll see. I don't know. They'll probably be having an entertaining first round. I think them playing Detroit in the first round would be entertaining as hell because they're such different classes of styles. But I don't know. It's a good, like, interesting story, and it gives the league more depth. It helps. I think the thing is coaches are better, and I think some GMs are better. Um, and teams are understanding how to build in different ways and better ways, so that like the tanking is only because of like one, this draft is fucking awesome, and I know we're gonna get to this, but like the teams at the bottom are starting to come up. Like other than the teams who have just like really started their tank, or like the Pacers, who had like a catastrophic injury just across the board, like their whole team has just been decimated. Um, like they're gonna bounce back. Other like the teams that you think about in the East that are going to be bad next year are mostly the teams that are kind of bad this year. Like the Nets are gonna be bad, but they're gonna try to be good because they don't have their pick. The Wizards are gonna try to be good. Like the Bulls are probably gonna be the worst team in the East next year. Them or Miami if Miami blows it up. Like they're just a bunch of teams that are better. Um, but like, if I'm Charlotte going into next year, you're what, the sixth best, seventh best team in the East? Because you got to assume Indiana's going to jump up and Washington. You're probably about even, maybe a little bit below Washington next year. But I mean, think about where they've been. Like, let's see if they can actually build something. Like they haven't, I don't think they've won a playoff game in like a decade
The
plus.
Hornets, were they would I mean, yeah, I couldn't remember the last Charlotte Hornets playoff game.
The real
And
question is, does this change the needle on getting free agents? Because, like, think about who their free agent signings have been. It's been washed up Tony Parker. It's been Batum getting a bag. It's been Gordon Hayward getting a bag. And they're like most impactful was Al Jefferson. And that was like in 2010.
it's been a long time, man. For a team that's never won a division title, never won a conference title, I don't think ever even gotten out of the second round. But regardless though, why don't we just hit on obviously the franchise, one of the established one with the Celtics and the return of Jayson Tatum. He comes back on Friday, has a pretty impressive game. Still has a way to go, but the Celtic team has still been able to stay afloat high up in the East. And now with Tatum returning, do you think that they are going to be the ones to be the beat in the East? We still got about 5-6 weeks until the playoffs actually begin. It is an Achilles injury, so it takes some time, but Tatum so far in 2 games has looked pretty solid. And regardless, though, the Celtics have still been a great looking team. And now putting him in, where does this team go?
So there's a couple things. I think Joe Mazzulla, at least, unless the Spurs end up with the number one record in the league, Joe Mazzulla should probably win Coach of the Year. Um,
Definitely.
this
Full,
team,
full support there.
Jaylen Brown's been awesome.
Yeah.
He's been awesome this year. But this is again an infrastructure thing. Like the team has also been awesome when Jaylen Brown's been off the court. Like they have a really good infrastructure. For Tatum himself, like I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see for the next injury if they try to follow his timeline with the surgery. But you can see he doesn't have any lift. Like before
Mhm.
he went on a little spurt in that Mavericks game, airball to three. Didn't he got rim checked on a dunk? Like he missed like he just can't move yet. Like there's a
Yeah.
different like he's got to get his legs under him. So the first like week or two, it's too early to tell. We'll probably know like right around when the playoffs start, like roughly what we're gonna get from Tatum. Um,
You
and
think he
if
has
he's
it in him?
yeah, I think he's like, really built it up. But this is like like him coming back and him fighting back for this is like a career statement because like if he's not totally healthy and he hurts himself again, like he's smack dab in his prime. He may fuck that up if he gets hurt again. Like knock on wood, I don't want Tatum to get hurt
Of
again.
course.
He's awesome. Um, but if he comes back healthy and he's like, 75% of Jayson Tatum right now, and then next year he's fully healthy, like you know, that's a incredible story.
Mhm.
Like the only guy we've really seen come back and be like essentially the same player as KD. And that's because most of KD's skills are the fact that he's just an unbelievable shooter and he's tall as shit. Like it's different when you rely a little bit more on athleticism. So look, man, he's the biggest wild card in the East other than Joel Embiid. Um, so we just got to see. Like it's too early to say, yeah, they're the favorites. Because you don't know. Vooch just got hurt, so
Yep.
they still have a problem with their front line. Um,
Do you
they're
people were excited about that deal at the deadline only for him to get hurt.
listen,
What happens?
it's fine. He's fine. I don't know how much of a needle mover he is. Their front line is still an issue. Um, well, because Tatum, in theory, will be able to take some of that pounding because he was playing down. He's always been a good rebounder, but it's just too early to tell. Like judging him now is kind of like judging teams on the first like 2 weeks of the season when things are still in flux. People are just get randomly on hot streaks. It's like we're probably the best way to tell how Tatum looks is basically right before the playoffs start because he has to come back and get his legs under him. We have to see, is he going to be playing back to backs? Is his minute limit going to remain, like I think Missoula said he wasn't on a minute limit, but I think he plays probably about like 20-ish, 20,
Yeah.
24 minutes a game. Like, that's different than going from 20 minutes to 30, 35 minutes in a high stakes playoff game. Like it's a different pressure on his body. So we have to see like how they ramp him, how they ease him in. Like I'm not worried about them figuring out Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. They've done it for years, and Tatum, has kind of been a role player at times. Like he was first of all he was fucking awful in the Olympics. He was
Hmm.
like basically a role player, and he just wasn't good. Um, so like he knows how to do like he doesn't seem like he I think understands not to take the minutes when it's like he's in with Brown, but like when he's in with like Hugo Gonzalez and whoever their fucking backups are at this point, like then he could be a little bit more like, all right, I'm Alpha Tatum. But I think most of the time he's gonna be, just kind of easing his way in. So we'll see.
Well,
It's too early to tell. Is basically the answer for this.
no problem there, but I'm excited to see where it goes regardless. Now, hitting on the Western Conference. So we've had the Oklahoma City Thunder and still impressing people. Already hit the 50-win mark. Shea Gildress-Alexander maybe winning his second back-to-back MVPs. But we're seeing the rise of the Spurs, as you mentioned, where you're 4 wins away from your prediction. They're 4 wins away from hitting 50. Victor Wembanyama, what I'm hearing the call now, point Wemby 2, adding to his arsenal, obviously hitting those boards, getting those blocks. And then we just have some other teams that are always interesting, like the T-Wolves are trying to fight for home court. The Rockets finding their defensive identity. Nuggets have been dealing with injury issues. They're a fifth seed. The Lakers have been interesting, staying consistent. They beat the Knicks on Sunday. And then we also have the Warriors trying to hold it down without Curry. Tell me, how you feeling about this Western Conference? And then from there, we'll go for the tanking.
Um, I think, and I'm gonna say this is a bias. I think the Spurs should be winning like 80% of the awards this year. I think like if I don't, I think if they're within like 5 games of Oklahoma City, Victor should be the MVP. Um, like if he first of all he's gonna play the game limit. This is gonna be a tough stretch for them. They don't have 2 days off till the end of March. So they're currently playing their third game in 4 nights against Houston after completing the largest comeback of the season. Did you know? This was a stat I was looking at. Did you know that the largest comeback of every season has either involved the Spurs or the Clippers for the last 5 years?
I did
Not
not
against
know
each
that.
other, just in that. That's like a crazy uh like thing. But yeah, no, he's certainly going to be defensive player of the year. I think he should be MVP. Um, I think I think I've already talked about Mitch Johnson. I think if they get the number 1 seed, he should be the coach of the year. Um, I think Keldon should be the sixth man of the year. And I know there was a lot of like potential rookie of the year hype for Harper at the beginning of the year. He's not going to win rookie of the year. It's just not going to happen. As much as I
But hey,
fucking love it.
you're still seeing that development. That's the one thing really interested I'm at with your Spurs team. You clearly see a core growing. It
Yeah.
might be taking
And
over for years.
I think the thing that's going to swing us the most is how much development does Carter Bryant get in the next couple weeks? Because first off, that kid's probably the second best defender on the team. It's like his he. Do you know how many Spurs rookies have had multiple games of 3 blocks as a rookie? Three: Duncan, Wemby, and Carter Bryant. And he can't shoot for
Great
shit.
company.
Like he is unbelievably athletic. Just he's a great kid. Like his story is amazing. He's like super good with the deaf community because his parents are deaf.
Oh,
Um,
he's a code. I didn't know that.
yeah, he's like unbelievable kid. I'm so excited that they got him. Um, he's going to be the swing factor for them. This team is going to be just like they're playing with found money. I think they could win the title this year. I think the biggest thing that comes into their that they run up against is Oklahoma City, and we'll see how the refereeing goes with them later in the year because we can talk about that in a minute. And then the Knicks, because it's just one of those weird rock paper scissors. They just have a hard time playing the Knicks, and it's mostly because they
Wemby
need
hasn't
Carter.
won in the Garden yet.
They need that four. They need a big four. Like right, like I love Champagne. He's been shooting amazing. He's gonna get a massive pay increase. I think if they do an expansion draft, he has to be one of the 8 guys. Um, uh, Depending on where this pick ends up this year. But like they need somebody bigger because what happens is, and this is the thing, the Achilles heel for the Knicks is teams are going to put their shot blocker on Hart, and if Hart can't make them pay, it doesn't matter. But because Wemby is doing that, like it gives Towns the ability to go in for offensive rebounds, and they need somebody like Carter Bryant who's bigger and stronger than Champagny to like go after Towns, so they can put somebody bigger on Mikal Bridges because Mikal Bridges fucking kills them every goddamn time. Um, but yeah, I think the Spurs could win the title this year. I know there's no precedent for it, but we also don't have precedent for Wemby. Like the worst game he's played, like I mean, he had a couple like bad scoring games in a while because they were like they're talking about the game against Philly where he only had shot the ball 5 times. They won by like 50.
Hmm.
He was like a plus 42. Um, like his game doesn't matter if he scores. Like his like worst scoring in like a big game was when they played that first Pistons game. He basically hit 20-20. And it's simply because he's just big as shit and like just is around the rim. I cannot. I'm so excited for this team. This is like one of the happiest things going on in my life is that this team is so good.
The
Like,
rise of the
and they
Spurs and Wemby getting rid of that hair. Now he looks more serious with the shorter hair.
and he cares, man. Like the people who
Only
are
want to care in that All-Star game,
And like
basically.
so when they beat the Clippers and he started crying, people are like, "Oh, well, that's not cool." First off, he gives a shit more than anybody else. That's absolutely cool. The second thing is he's actually dealt with a lot of shit off the court. His grandmother died earlier this year. Right before that game, like within the last couple days, his friend was missing for like 2 days or for like 2 weeks, and they couldn't find.
Mm.
He was like asking you to like put out some, and they just found him. They'd also played like
He's safe.
24 hours. Like it was like a lot of emotional stuff happening off the court as
Hmm.
well. So like yeah, he's going to be the face of the league. Like it's just going to happen. And the idea of people like, oh, he's not as good as we thought he is. This is essentially the second half of his season of his second year. Like
Yeah.
he basically has only played a year and a half in the league. Um, they didn't know what that to do with him that first year, and then the second year, as he started to turn the corner, he got hurt. He played 5 games with Fox last year. Uh, Castle is just unbelievable. Like his lob passing is just great. This is a fun team. It's a deep team. They got some picks coming in. The idea that like Adam Silver built this team is like ridiculous. Yeah, getting Wemby helps. Um, but Castle was the fourth pick. And we've talked about this at nauseum. I said that Atlanta should have taken either Castle or Klingett first overall because that's where their holes were. Um, the Houston could have taken Castle. The Wizards could have taken Castle. Like, yes, everyone they could have, taken Ace Bailey or VJ Combe instead of Harper. But, Harper's awesome. Like it worked. Sometimes shit happens. And the only reason they were able to get Harper is because Wemby got hurt. And that's how they dropped because they ended up with a shittier record because he got hurt. So they were bad at the end of the year, and that's why their ping pong balls ended up dropping. If they had ended up where Wemby normally was, I think they would have ended up where Dallas was, and they would have gotten Cooper Flag. Like like that's what we were looking at. So there's that. But let me stop talking about the Spurs. Let me talk about some of the other teams. Oklahoma City is currently taking people are talking about the Oklahoma City in the way that they deserve to be talked about. It's not that Shea just gets every whistle. Because, like, if you look at statistically, he's not getting like an insane amount of free throws that's like more outrageous than anybody else. Um,
Yes.
it's not the offense, it's the defense. It's the fact that like Lou Dort is like legitimately trying to hurt people.
A
This isn't
true
just
enforcer.
Like this isn't just like the Jokic thing. When they played, I think the second time, the Spurs, he like dove into Victor's legs. Like
Like
it's
chop blocking almost.
no, like he, crashed into it like trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's it's and we talked about this in the Nuggets series last year. They're allowed to defend in a way that other teams aren't. And like I understand like they allow a more physical style for some teams. I do think there's like a line to be drawn about like physicality and just like, oh, I'm just gonna fight you or just like punch you all the time. Because I think that's part of like the argument from all old heads about Steph Curry is, oh, we're just gonna beat the shit out of him. It's like, okay, so he's clearly a better basketball player than you, and your options is violence. Um, like that's like
It's
just
like they're trying to be the bad boy Pistons of the late 80s.
right. Like there's a level of that that's acceptable that they need to basically tone down.
I see, I see.
But the thing with Oklahoma City is they're just so fucking deep, and they're also missing a lot of guys. Like Jalen Williams has been either missing or bad this year. Like he
Yeah.
just hasn't been good. AJ Mitchell's missed a bunch of games, which is basically why they got Jerry McCain because he's like if Mitchell doesn't have it, you're not going to put Topic in, who came back this year. Like the fact that Kobe is playing is like crazy. He, tore his ACL last year. He had testicle cancer this year. Uh, like good on him for being back. They're just a deep team. They can still very well win the title. But I think they're going to be more fairly, um, more fairly refed this year in how their defense is refed. The other thing with them is fuck them. Like man, they're the ones who are pushing the anti-tanking. Well, there's two forces pushing the anti-tanking stuff. It's them and the gambling companies. Which one of those things you could solve, and that's to get rid of the gambling companies. Um,
There's too
like
much money going in, so we're
it's
stuck with them.
it's it's one of the lasting negative impacts from Adam Silver's time here. But to be fair, it's one of the lasting negative impacts of this version of the world that is these gambling companies. Like they're just bad and toxic across the board. Just they should go away. Them and most of the generative AI shit should go away. But there's too much money tied up in it, so we're all just gonna live in hell. But the like them complaining about the tanking. You
Yeah,
built
let's
your
let's
team on
begin. Let's begin that. There's one thing I want to hit on before your point. When it comes to the tanking issue in the NBA right now. Last week, we saw 10 teams on losing streaks. 10 of the bottom 30 teams on losing streaks. That included the Bucks, Bulls, Grizzlies, Mavericks, Pelicans, Jazz, Wizards, Nets, Pacers, and the Kings. They were all on losing streaks at the exact same time. And as you mentioned, people are excited for this draft, especially the big three, whether it's BYU's AJ DeBosta, Duke's Cameron Boozer, Kansas's Darren Peterson. We're starting to see some more interesting talent becoming available during the draft. But we are seeing a lot of teams really suffer from it. I believe the team really addressing it at Adam Silver saying this is a major problem. This has to stop because you're cheapening our regular season. So having said all of that, the taking issue in the NBA faces, what is next to try to stop it?
okay,
Especially
so there's
again, those 10 teams on a losing streak at once.
we have
Hilarious.
to first off, a bunch of teams are going to be in a losing streak anyway. Like there's no way for every team in the NBA to be on a winning streak. So there's always some teams that are going to be bad. Like that's just how parity works. Um, there's a couple things to this. We have to separate the tanking teams from the teams that are ass. Um, some of the teams are just bad. The Kings just bad. The Pelicans just bad. Also don't have their pick. Um, the Wizards are the Wizards are in a separate conference. Like the Nets, just bad. Like there are teams that are just bad because they knew this draft was good, or they're not going to have their pick, or they're just the Kings. Like that doesn't count as like a tanking thing. The other thing to this is this draft is really fucking good, and it's not just the three guys you mentioned. Like picks up through like pick 10, like you're gonna get a guy. There's like those four guards. It's Acuff. It's the kid in Louisville. it's Kingston Fleming, it's Wagler. Like all of these guys are potentially really, really good players. Like the guy you pick at 8 may be the best player in the draft. Like that makes a different thing. But then the way to deal with some of this is remove pick protections in the way that they exist. Either make it top 4 or lottery. Because if it's top 4 or lottery, the Wizards aren't tanking and the Jazz aren't tanking because they're just doing it to protect their picks. That's why they're tanking. It's the same reason that a whole bunch of teams tanked. But it's why Philly tanked last year to protect their pick. Um, if those teams, so that's those teams, they're separate. There's there's teams that just the Grizzlies are entering a rebuild. Chicago is entering a rebuild. So they're no longer treading the middle. They're trying to start over again. This is how you get like the way to become a competent NBA franchise is in 2 ways. You're either the Nets and you somehow sign and trade for um uh superstars multiple times and build your teams that way or through trades, or you get lucky in the lottery. And even then, it's got to be the right lottery. Like you have to get like a Cade, you have to get an Ant, you have to get a Victor. Like if you fuck up like the Hawks did, you take a Ricochet instead of somebody who has a higher ceiling, it doesn't matter. Or you take a Paulo. Like Paulo may not be on this team next year. Um, but like who knows? Again, the big factor is the reason they got mad at the Jazz was because of the gambling stuff. Um, that's really what it is. And
Also with the Pacers too, sitting players and got fined for that.
yeah, but they're also like really hurt. And some of the reporting for this is like the league is not doing really good in their investigations. Um, and it is troubling because like Silver started his tenure basically with the Donald Sterling thing, and they did a
Yeah, that was
good
his
job of
first big
handling
move.
it.
First big
Um,
move with that banning Donald
but
Sterling.
we're going to talk about some of this other stuff, but this is too much tied to the gambling. Again, like the biggest factors for this are this draft is fucking awesome. Pick protection. Some teams are just ass, and this is the easiest way to build. Like the idea that we're going to separate your record from the draft lottery is insane. Because if you do something like that, you have to come to the realization that at some point, a team like Oklahoma City last year, or the 73-9 Warriors, or the Nuggets are going to end up with like a Victor Wembanyama, a Cade Cunningham. Like at some point, if you separate those two things, the best team in the league is going to end up with a generational talent after winning a title. Like it's just going to happen because those things are correlated. I think the biggest you change the pick protections. Honestly, flattening the odds was kind of a problem too because like before, if you had like the eighth worst record, you would kind of like go for it. But now the worst team in the league in the record hasn't won the title, hasn't won the first pick since they flattened the odds.
You're talking about with the Kings right now.
Right. Like the Kings are more likely
And
to
you
be
saw
fifth.
Russell Westbrook even yelled going back and forth in the media. I don't know. I
No,
found that
I
funny.
haven't honestly I have paid zero attention to the Kings. They're just a sad, weird team. I don't care.
With
Uh
talent, with some talent for nothing.
yeah, it's a
14 wins so far.
it's just been like they're probably gonna end up with Boozer. I think he would be awesome. Like I'm gonna be honest, he would be awesome in San Antonio. He would be awesome in Indiana. I really hope Indiana gets him or Dibanza because that would be the most fun. Um,
At least with the three I mentioned, at least go to one of these three struggling
right, but
franchises.
the thing is, like, you need some of these teams. Like, you need some of this to go to the East because especially if Giannis leaves the East, it's going to have like a star power difference. Like they need like some of these guys. Like the Pelicans are going to give a top probably 4 pick to the Atlanta. Um, they're gonna like there's gonna be teams that are gonna get high picks because of this. Like I don't know what pick the Clippers are giving to Oklahoma City, but like the thing is it's more the biggest issue was this came back like the football ended and everyone started watching the league, and then this Jazz thing happened like right then, and the gambling companies got screwed at it and they made a big fuss about it. And also Oklahoma City probably made a fuss about it because they want that pick. Um, so if you remove a bunch of those incentives by like removing the protections, like people aren't going to be tanking like this next for next year's draft because my understanding is next year's draft is just ass. Um,
Mhm.
It's like just not good. I think it's that like Swedish kid is like projected number one, and possibly Victor's brother, who's just not as good. Um, but like that's that's like where it is. Like it's not as good a draft. Like that's part of the things. Like this happens to be like in these last two drafts have been really freaking awesome. And that's why teams have been bad over this time. But some teams are just like they go through this cycle. Like you can't be good forever, especially with the way that the apron works now. It's harder to keep teams together. And you really don't have that long a runway. Like unless you're a team that kind of has stockpile picks, you basically have like a 4 to 5 year window before guys start breaking down. Because the other thing to keep in mind is this season is too long. The season is too long. Like everyone can agree to this except for the people making the money. Like if they lessen the um
Regular season.
the lesson if you lower the regular season, it makes teams like that start hot, it makes them harder to tank. Like if you start like
Just
the
how do you
Jazz,
do that though if they're gonna possibly expand within the next 5 years? You still think they would still accept that? Because again, it's
I
all
think
just
they need
money
to because it's
issues.
going to help the players and it'll make games more meaningful. You can get rid of the 65 game rule. Games will be more impactful. They can be spread out a little bit more so guys have more time to rest and they're a little bit healthier. Um, the product's going to be better because guys are like the Spurs are playing like 15 games this month. They're on their third game in 4 days. They don't have 2 days off till the end of the month. Like that's absurd. Um, the like shrinking the schedule will make games matter more. It means that like if you're, there's always that one team that starts like Chicago. Chicago started the year like 6-0 or something. If you only have 65 games and you start out like 10-2, well, you're already fucked. You can't tank because that's like a fourth of the season. And you don't have the same amount of time to be as bad. So there's like a lot of things that can fix this. The idea that you have to separate all of this from the records or that this is the worst it's ever been is just like nonsense. There's like five easy solutions. Change the pick protections, unflatten the odds so that like if you're bad, you have a better chance of being less bad. Um, I think you can't be in the top four for 2 years in a row is nonsense because um generally if you're picking in the top of the draft, you're still bad. And it's like there's only a few guys who've been like come in straight away and their team is just like instantly playing level good. Like LeBron did it, Luca did it, like even Victor didn't do it. Um, like you need a couple of guys. You need at least two bites at the apple for being bad. Um, before you um, can start like ascending. It takes guys a little bit of time, and also like I don't know how you deal with because there's teams that don't have picks like till like 2030. If you start like
And the
removing this, like how
Pelicans
does
have
that
that problem.
like how do you square that stuff away? I think a lot of it is the protection stuff. You remove a lot of the protections, at least like the 6 to 8 protections, you create a lot of less incentives for teams to tank. I think this is not as bad as it's been because once we got past that first week, the NBA is still fucking awesome. Like, granted, Victor's does like 4 or 5 crazy things every night, but you have compelling things all over the place. Like people are doing crazy shit everywhere. You like Jokic hasn't been as good this year or since he came back from the injury, but he's still putting up like triple doubles. Minnesota's righting itself. It's always fun to watch Houston because maybe they're gonna explode. Uh, the Hornets are entertaining. Like the league is in, at least player wise, is in a healthy place. A lot of the issues that the league is currently facing have to do with um, outside factors. It's the gambling. It's the ownership issues. It's the scheduling with the blackout games and stuff. It's the season is too long. It like I think the All-Star game stuff I think is going to work itself out. I still think the biggest answer would have been just keep the Emblem ending to have it like have a score that they're going for at the end. I think having them have something to play for makes it matter. I think the dunk contest you just kind of need more guys like who give a shit. And I think some of the younger guys do give a shit, like especially the guys coming in. Like Divance is probably going to be in a dunk contest. Um, I don't know if Victor's ever going to do one, but I think he kind of hinted at. But like, you have to have guys who like care or give a shit, and who don't care about being ridiculed. Like it's especially if you're like a younger guy who's kind of making a name for yourself. That's what you got to do for it. Like this idea that you're too cool for a thing is absurd. Like
Yeah, time will
go
tell
out
on
there
that one.
and like there's
Make it cool, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
just like care. And I think the younger guys care. I think there was like there are guys who don't care. Like Jokic and Luka, you can probably stop putting them in All-Star games. Like they don't give a shit. Um, they just don't. And it's fine. Like if you want to make it competitive, you have to have guys who give a shit.
I
And
hear that.
that's what like I think a lot of the issues that we were worried about or that people were bitching about like a month ago aren't really like super big issues. Like remember um every offseason it's like, oh, the NBA is in trouble, and then it comes back, it's like, oh, the NBA is awesome. And then we get into this like weird slog, and it's like, here are the issues. It's simply that the season is too long.
Aces, to finish our conversation for today, there is two owners in the past few months who've gotten themselves in hot water. That is Steve Ballmer of the LA Clippers, Robert Pera of the Memphis Grizzlies. Tell the audience what those two are accused of and what should be done about it.
Okay, well, I mean, there's also a third, but we don't really talk about the Adelsons, and I've talked about them at length, but it is like a travesty that they're allowed to own a team.
Could
Uh,
you sum that up in a minute? You could say that too. Which one? Adelson's, and
uh,
who do they own?
they own the Mavericks,
Okay.
but they have a different somebody as they have somebody else as the Patrick Dumont is the face of it because the Adelsons are too toxic. But they got into it for gambling, and their issues are more like bad political policy that has killed Americans, like directly killed Americans. But that's a different story. So the two things, there's the less known one, which is the Grizzlies one. So according to Pablo Torre, the owner of the Grizzlies has invested in drones that are being used by the Russians in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware, the league is not investigating this in any way, or is
You're
doing anything.
looking right here. I don't have any statements or an ongoing investigation right now with Memphis.
Right. I think at the very least, potential war crimes should be a thing the league investigates to potentially punish an owner to maybe forcing getting them to get rid of a team. Now, All-Star Weekend also had some players potentially involved in this with KD and Steph potentially doing other drone stuff with Israel and Gaza. That's a different thing. I think Omar Caspi's involved in the one with Steph. Um, that's a different thing. But then there's the Steve Ballmer one. So this one is, and I haven't followed the latest one. The latest bombshell from Pablo seems to be that. Let me back this up. So the original thing is that they created there's this company called Aspiration that was supposed to be one of these like carbon neutral. We plant trees to give you a carbon tax, so you have the ability to pollute more because we're offsetting it. And they're planting these trees. And basically, they were doing um, an endorsement deal with Kawhi Leonard, but he didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to do anything for this deal. And this company was then like investigated and shut down because it was being like corrupt. The the allegation is that this was a way for the Clippers to circumvent the cap in order to get Kawhi and Uncle Dennis more money than they were legally allowed to pay him,
Which the NBA is investigating now.
which the NBA is investigating. But my understanding is this also went to the SEC, that this was part of this. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if the NBA has any information on that. And I also it doesn't sound like the NBA has really looked into Jesus, the Spurs just beat the Rockets by 25. Good. The has looked like really looked into some of this stuff. Now, there are some issues here. The reporting is that they're more likely basically just to void Kawhi's contract than they are to go after Ball. which is such an insanely detrimental thing. It's like mind-boggling because if you don't punish the organization for doing this, everybody is going to do this because they don't they don't
And with
care because it only affects the player. It doesn't affect them.
a player who's been on and off lately too.
Right. Well, he's been awesome this year,
Yeah, he's
which
has had a great season, but we
but like
obviously know he's
he's one of the
with the
weird like
exception. Yeah, exactly. Just a weird guy who's has his 2 rings and
he's
he's
had
no,
one
no.
of the strangest careers for a guy who should rank infinitely higher. But that's
Yeah,
something.
oh, definitely
Now,
definitely going to the Hall of Fame.
the issue with this is twofold. Ballmer is worth billions. So like
Yeah.
anything short of like a 500 million to 700 million dollar fine is going to be like couch money to him. And now I don't know about the rules of the intricacies of what the NBA is allowed to fine him. Now, if they can't fine him $500 million, which I have no idea why they can't. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. But that's like the money level we're talking about here. Um, there were some things they could have done. They absolutely should not have let them play the All-Star game there. That at
in,
the
in
very
the
least,
Intuit Dome.
yeah, at the new stadium that they just built. They absolutely should not have let them do that. If you're not going to hit them and take away their draft picks, which you probably should do. Now, granted, they don't have control of their picks till like 2030 anyway, but you can take their further picks, and that affects their ability um to draft or trade things in the future because they took some of Philly's picks. Like if you were aware, last year's draft only had 58 picks because picks were taken away from teams. Um, they could say you can't use the mid-level exception this year. You can't use the taxpayer or like different team building tools this year. Like you can't make, cash for trades. I don't know like based on their cap situation like what they're already limited to, but if your argument is we can't find him because he's just got more money than any single person should ever have access to at any point in history, um then you have to cripple the team. Like you can't allow this to happen, and the only consequence to be the player gets hurt in this. Because one,
Yeah, you have
that's
to
going
set
to
a
then
precedent, especially if even though that team has been, awful literally since inception. You have to set a mark and you have to hold teams accountable.
because also what does that say to the players association? Like at some point you're going to have to negotiate a new contract with the players association. And if this is how you respond to the owners knowingly doing malfeasance by hurting the players are going to want some type of protection for that. Like
And
there's
another
so many
thing
more
too,
downstream negative consequences of this than just punishing the rich guy for the very obvious thing that they did that was wrong. Like,
and it's also probably not taken as seriously because it's such a bad franchise. It's been awful forever. And literally, his money hasn't done shit for it. Mm.
okay, but here's the other thing. If you're worried about tanking, this team is fucking terrible without Kawhi. Like, you're just gonna like they don't have their pick. Their pick goes to Oklahoma City next year too. Like, if this is like one of the worst teams ever without Kawhi. I mean, granted, they're a little bit better spaced now that they have Garland and they have Mathurin, but like it is like just releasing Kawhi is not the answer. Now I don't know if I imagine if you had done a real investigation and Kawhi was found to have been knowledgeable of this, maybe Kawhi gets suspended. Like think about the people. Like OJ Mayo is I'm pretty sure still technically banned from the league for marijuana use. Um, like there are guys who like there has to be a punishment beyond Kawhi can't make whatever. I think he's probably still got over $100 million in contracts left on like he can't make that money because it doesn't matter like to him. I'm pretty sure Uncle Dennis is more of the issue pushing it, but like they have more than enough money. He'll go get like a max contract with Philly or with Detroit or somebody else. Like there has to be some type of penalty that's not just fucks the one side of this because this isn't a one-sided deal unless it's like they did an investigation into like, hey, Kawhi just signed a check. Like he didn't know like what he was doing, which I find hard to believe because we're
Yeah,
talking
definitely.
like even if you and I had like if I had let's just say roughly $300 million in career earnings, $50 million for doing nothing is not like who like for
For a
Ballmer
player
$50
who
million.
also cemented his legacy too.
Yeah, like it's still a large amount of money. Like you don't just get that much money and be like, all right, cool, whatever. Um, like especially to do nothing. Like they had to have some awareness of this, and I think that's like you can't just say, oh yeah, it's all Kawhi's fault because Kawhi didn't set up the deal. The Ballmer did. Like he did. Like
Right.
they
And then I think it was, he didn't really give a sweat when he was first uh called out for it on ESPN. I remember seeing the PR. I was like, wow, this guy's really media trained, but I don't know. I mean, it is just a weird situation. Another thing Pablo Torres hinted at, that there could be some funny business regarding Jalen Brunson, and we brought him to New York. And obviously,
okay,
it's a
but that's
different. I don't
like the
know.
Jalen Brunson to New York thing is because they hired his dad. I mean, he may have always wanted to
True, and
go
that
there.
was also months. It's been months since he was implying that, and who knows? Pablo Torre might just figuring out a way to check out me. And I like Pablo Torre's work a lot. I really do.
Yeah,
But
I like there's like
you need more
let's be
time.
clear. There's
What I'm
like
saying with the Brunson stuff, we'll see if it's just him trying to add some stock to it. But nothing's
right, because
happened
there's
in the last few
obvious like
months.
tampering stuff that happens all the time that we just accept, like Thanasis being in the league, or when the Knicks hired signed J.R. Smith's brother, like shit like that happens, or the Lakers signed or drafted Bronny, like
Yeah.
that type of shit happens. Like that's like acceptable with like in the rules type of shit. Like this is outside designed specifically to break those rules.
Right. And it's just a matter of time. Like, if they find some wrongdoing with the Knicks, that'll be a bigger deal with a team that's on the rise in a established franchise compared to a Clippers team, like I said, who's I don't even think has ever made the Western Conference Finals in over
They
45 years. I literally don't think they've ever gotten out of second
No,
round.
I think they did. I think they made it the year Phoenix went to the finals. I think they beat the Jazz, but Kawhi was hurt that year. I think in
Okay.
21 they made it. I think.
Let me just double check. Um, let me just ask. Have the Los Angeles Clippers ever made the Western Conference Finals? Nope, according to ChatGPT, from Chancellor Chubbs, never made the Western Conference Finals
Okay.
ever.
Uh,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what like a
right.
compare the stock with the franchise.
Right.
So
I think the other one was I think they were talking about Dallas as well might have done something with Chandler Parsons. That might have
mm,
been another one.
right,
Like
and that's been a
I
long time
am
with that.
like yeah, this is like my guess is this is similar to the gambling issue. This is not an isolated thing. And you need to set a precedent for it because this is not the only like the gambling thing is they got rid of Jonte Porter, who is very obviously doing this. But like Terry Rozier is kind of in the league. Like and Malik
Yeah,
Beasley's kind of blackballed.
they gave him complete like this weird plea. So we'll see if more as the especially in the summer if more goes with that.
Yeah, it's just like this is Silver had done like, a relatively good job. I think the league has grown under his watch. I think the gambling stuff has been a disaster. I think the NBC getting games
They've been
just
incredible.
has
Amazon does
been
a great job covering games. I look forward to it.
yeah, they've done a great job. And those are games I could watch, which like I miss having them on HBO, which I guess kind of works better for me now because if you share stuff and I'm not in the same city, same state anymore as my family, it like kicks me out of
Yeah,
the
man, we could
um
definitely have a long convo on the Skydance Warner's merger.
listen, I don't know how to explain this, but the Iranian war might have just blown up that merger because of the funding that they need. those countries may not be willing to give it in the same way because we are no longer
Huh.
protecting them in the same way.
Interesting. That makes a
Um,
ton of sense. I definitely want to look on research with that. But yeah. Regardless, though, we are running out of time, faces. I have enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you in a week to talk about what's happening next as we inch closer to the postseason. But great work as always. And we'll see another week at Tatum. We'll see the Knicks get bounced back after some back-to-back losses. Can the Spurs keep up this great momentum? And other things in between. And we'll see more of a preview of this March Madness as some players are going to go into their conference championships tournaments. But good stuff. Is there anything else you want to address before we sign off?
no, no, I'm good. I think we
Perfect.
hit most of everything that I wanted to talk about. I look, I get it. We'll get to other teams. I'm not going to pretend. Like, listen, you go into a ringer thing with Bill Simmons. You know he's going to talk about the Celtics. You come here.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about the fucking Spurs, especially when the Spurs are good.
no problem for me here. And it's going to be a good time. But all right, faces, I'll see you next week. And it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.